Go hit record. This is a very, very informal, nothing major, anything. So we're just gonna
Yeah.
act like two normal people. Yes, indeed. And we're gonna get into some trouble together.
Yeah. We'll see.
So it is good to see you, cuz it is really
Yeah.
good. You ready for your trip though?
Yeah, Kansas City, yeah, leaving
Uh,
Friday.
Wait a minute, Kansas City. What's happening in Kansas City?
My granddaughter plays volleyball. They have their national tournament.
Oh, look at that.
And
Look at
her
that.
team, um,
Okay. You got your pom-poms and stuff ready?
and I got my pom poms, got my being obnoxious grandparent in the stands.
Hey, it comes with the territory. That you have to do that.
Yeah.
Seriously. Serious. Okay, so let's just dive in. So I am happy to be talking to my cousin. This is gonna be wonderful. So my first question that I had, so thank you for the pictures and stuff that you sent, because those were just completely awesome. And
Yeah.
we started looking some more into some auntie stuff. So did any outside of you, because you called her mom, but
Yeah.
I only knew her as Aunt Rose. Did anybody call her Rosalie?
Just Rose.
Okay.
Her friends, everyone just Rose.
Okay.
I can't remember anyone calling her Rosalie, but everyone just Rose.
Okay. Now, is there a story behind her name?
That I don't know.
Okay.
We are our family.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Go
So
ahead
you
and
look
say
at
it.
a perspective from the introvert of the
Mm,
family. He kept to
yes.
himself. And the only thing I did was read, build my model airplanes, and play sports.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it wasn't that close of a family.
Right.
And we really didn't, I wish we were closer because my
Yeah.
interest in history, um, it gets to that point, it's too late to talk to anyone because everyone's
Yeah.
passed away. But the behind, it was just her name, Rosalie, and just everyone just call her Rose.
Right.
I
Okay.
never even asked my grandparents why they named her Rose. The
Okay.
topic never came up.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I only knew her as Rose. And I would
yeah,
have loved to know if there was a story behind it. So the pictures that you sent, and I'm gonna, put those up in the pictures you showed were of the housing projects that you guys stayed in. And
right.
which one were those again on the west side?
There was Grace Abbott homes
Okay.
on the near west side of Chicago. So we were Roosevelt Road. Um, at the border, every neighborhood back in those days.
Hmm.
Some dry goods stores, buy clothes, shoes,
Yeah.
butcher market. So you stayed in an area. And I consider our border was Ashland was probably the west.
Okay.
Uh, um, let me see. East would be I say U of I, Halsted Street.
Okay. Yeah.
You
Okay.
again, west. I'm sorry, south would have been. I said expressway back in the day, Eisenhower Expressway,
Yeah.
and then north would be maybe 8th Street. 8th.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was that area that I hung around.
All right. Nothing
So we
outside of
didn't really have
that, no need to.
yeah, my mother, it was back in those days, it was a lot of single moms,
Hmm.
many single moms, especially in the projects.
Yeah.
Uh, um, so no one really had a car. So if you look at the layout of the projects, there was not much parking because not
Right.
many had cars.
Hmm.
So we just took public transportation. Again, you look at my perspective. Again,
Yeah.
I was a loner, so I
Yeah.
stayed in the area a lot.
Okay.
So if you talk to my brother, Vance, He
It's a
was
completely different story.
out and about in the streets and everything.
Okay. So with your introvert personality and all that, you were delving into history. What was your thing about history? What did you love about history?
So I started with airplanes. I love the
Uh-huh.
airplane
Okay.
and the military airplanes. So with that, I started thinking, where did they fly military airplanes in wars?
Mm-hmm.
So I started in World War II. My favorite airplane was the P-47 Thunderbolt,
Okay.
which was flown in World War II. So I learned more about World War II and just expanded to World War One, the Civil War,
Mm-hmm.
ancient wars.
Okay.
So my library, I've got about 3,600 books.
There you
This is
go.
only,
That's not even cutting close to
I've got my basement. I've taken over my basement, so I got about 15 bookcases down there.
Oh wow.
So
That's
it keeps you
amazing
out.
though.
Yeah, yeah. So I still have a passion for reading. Like I said, is the only thing I did was, besides schoolwork, was read. I started really reading comic books,
Okay.
and I used to. It had a ritual. Every Friday, I go to the store and buy these packets. You have buy three for 15 cents packet. Three,
3 for 15 cents.
right? And I would buy 6 packets,
Okay.
like 18 comic books that would
Oh
read
my.
over the weekend, and they're all and that's really how I learned about mythology.
Yeah.
Thor comic
Mm-hmm.
books. Even Superman. You learn about science.
Right.
So I didn't do the Archie type comic books.
Okay.
They had World War II. They had Man at War comic books.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's this. This is a rabid reader, and everything I can read. In fact, I still have
Okay.
my first book ever bought.
Are you serious? Oh my. Hey, you brought it out. I love that. Wow.
My,
That is
this
like an
is
antique
uh,
now.
yeah, this is from 1960.
Wow.
I was 8 years old.
See, cause okay, now you got more questions, like me want to just ask more questions. Okay, so with all of your reading, and of course that, and I can relate to that, it takes you on an adventure in your head. So you're like seeing other
Yeah,
worlds, seeing other places. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, I always imagine again living in projects. You have this isolated world. You live your actual isolated world that you live
Mm-hmm.
in. Then you read about Italy, France,
Yeah.
uh, Japan, the islands, the
Mm-hmm.
Pacific. You read about that, and even on TV, there's a perspective I'm seeing. Um, this is a family shows, Father Know Best,
Yeah.
Dick Van Dyke Show. Um, Again, this is just for me. It was just, is that the real? That was that fantasy land
Right.
that I knew was out there,
Mm-hmm.
and the only regret, I mean, one of the regrets, I never strived to get out there.
Yeah.
The goals, our family, for my grandfather, work was the most important thing.
Yes.
You worked. In fact, I started working at 12 years old.
Mhm. What was your first job?
I worked again at the dry goods store, Weiner's department store. So
Mm-hmm.
on Roosevelt, it was owned by Mr. Weiner's, a
Yeah.
Jewish guy. I swept the floors, and in fact, I didn't get the job. My
Mm-hmm.
mother got me that job. She went in. It wasn't said, "Mom, I want to I want to find a job."
Uh-huh.
12 years old, I just want to go play, but she got me a job. He says, "This
Okay.
is where you're reporting to on Saturday."
Wow.
So I started sweeping the floors.
Okay.
And after a couple of months, I was promoted to sales.
Mm-hmm. So
So
was this the type of store that had everything in it?
everything
Okay.
all clothes, again, clothes, shoes, again, dry goods,
Okay.
anything you wanted. Again, suits, hats, everything.
Okay.
Um, at 13 years old, I'm selling, women's underwear,
Right.
bras to women.
Yes.
I still remember a woman walked in and she says, I gained weight, so I'm not sure what my bra size was. And I'm 13, so what's a bra size?
Like, excuse me, ma'am, what?
She says, well, and I went to Mr. Weiner's and I said she needs measurements for a
Hmm.
bra. He gave me the measuring tape. It says it's mess around her chest.
No.
I'm 13. I got this tape around this woman's chest.
You could get
Uh,
arrested for that now.
I right now would, but I remember 36.
Yes.
And then after that, I looked at the boxes, A, B, C, D. So I just grabbed the B.
Oh Lord. Oh God.
And honey, and she was a big woman. She says, honey, I haven't been a B size till I was 12 years since I was 12 years old.
No. Oh my
So
God.
she was a double D.
Oh wow. Yeah. Nothing
I
in
looked at
that
the
was
box
fitting.
and this thing came out. So I said, okay. And back in those days, you can try them on
Yeah.
and fit them, but that's my
Oh.
experience.
Oh my God. So you got acquainted really well with the woman.
Yeah, then shoe sizes. You got to a point I can look at, you have to measure the shoe. So
Yeah.
older, I worked there for a few years. Get to a point I
Okay.
can look at someone's shoe, foot, and say what size
Hmm.
you were.
Oh wow.
I was a teenager.
Okay.
So that was my experience. Just growing up in progress. I mean, grow up
Wow.
working.
Yeah.
I got cash. It was worked 7 days a week sweeping after
Wow.
school, and it was $15 a week
Okay.
cash. And
That
I
was
was
pretty good for your age. You was
yeah.
doing it.
And then I had to talk to mom about rent. So I was paying rent.
How did that go?
Well, it went well. It was well, your mom. It was a right way and a wrong way and her way.
Mm-hmm. She
So there
that
was no,
Mosley.
yeah,
She's
it
that
wasn't the fact that
Mosley.
I had an opinion about it. Just I had to
Mm-hmm.
pay my portion of the rent. I
Right.
had my own phone. I had to pay for my own phone.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay,
because
you got to tell me that story again because you were like you would call. She would call the house later on,
right back in
and
the before cell phones, I mean, back in the day, you called up and you'll get a busy signal.
mm-hmm.
So my mother went out and she wouldn't check on the kids, checked on me, my brother, and my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And she would call, she called at 10 o'clock. I'm talking to my girlfriend,
Right.
got a busy signal. She called at 10:30, she got a busy signal.
Yeah.
11 o'clock, busy signal. And I'm not sure people even know what a busy signal is. It's just,
I know what a busy signal is.
okay.
Yes.
So she got the busy signal. So in those days, you can call the operator
Mm-hmm.
and the operator will cut in on your call.
Yeah.
So this is like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Why
So I
weren't you
well,
sleep, cousin?
I mean, I'm talking I'm talking to my girlfriend. So I'm thinking with other parts.
Right. Right.
So the operator came in and said, trying to get a call through. And so make a long story short, my mama says, well, we can't have this. You get your own phone if you want to talk to
Mm-hmm.
your girlfriend. So she had a phone put in above my bed and I
Okay.
paid for it.
Okay.
It was that was my first time I had something under my name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm a teenager. Obviously she had to co-sign for it.
Correct.
But I had my own bill. My own bill came in, and I had to pay it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so did your sister and Vance and them try to use it?
Truthfully, no. They
Okay.
kept away. They had my mom's phone.
Okay.
Yeah, but I never saw my bill going up or down. It
Okay.
was so they use it. I didn't know about.
Okay, now at that time, what was the average cost for a bill for a phone?
Oh, I paid like $7.
Oh my God. That's like taxes now, if that.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Oh
So,
my,
but plus
$7?
my mother $25 a month rent for my end.
Oh my God. Seriously.
Yeah. So this is, again, I'm 13, 14 years old. I'm giving my mother, $25 a month and paying for my
Right.
own phone. And I'm going to work
Um,
after school.
right.
But I never thought, I mean, I never thought I was deprived of anything.
Correct.
This is normal.
Hmm.
We were raised that you worked. And uh, so, and the schooling, I mean, obviously, because I read so much, my test scores are very high.
Right.
And that's why I was able to go to Sin High School on the north
Hmm.
side of Chicago.
And how far was that
That
traveling
was an
distance?
hour and a half every day. I would
Okay.
take the Roosevelt bus to we call the L, the
The L,
train,
yes, yes.
L, then get on the L, then take
Hmm.
that to North,
Hmm.
get up at Bryn Mawr, and take
Right.
another bus. So it's an hour and a half to get to
Okay.
Sin High
What time did
School.
you have to wake up in the morning?
Oh, 5:30, 6.
Okay. What time was first period then?
I remember 8:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did
So
you also play, so when you went to school, did you play any sports or were you in clubs or anything?
I didn't. I'm working after
You're
school.
working out, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I
Okay.
couldn't get into any sports, even though I love sports. And
Uh-huh.
going back to the projects, um, you had at 100. You had our building was 15 stories, 10 apartments each floor, had
Hmm.
150 apartments,
Okay.
and the average family, let's say four, so you got like 700 people,
Yeah,
and maybe half of that are children.
correct.
I had 300 kids. I had a bunch of friends.
Yeah, yeah.
So we played all day long, especially in the
Uh-huh.
summertime. And I laugh at my grandkids because right now, in this day and age, you have all these clubs, these soccer
Yes.
teams that you're
Uh,
paying thousands of dollars to play in.
yeah.
I was playing like 7 baseball games a day, then in the morning, go home, eat, lunch and dinner, and go out in the evening and play back, 3 or 4 basketball games.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
that was good fun. That was good
yeah,
fun.
and I just find it so just talk to my grandkids and even my 2 sons, they're sending their kids for agility classes. They're paying for agility classes and
Big
jumping
money.
classes.
Big money.
Money for all. I said jumping. You're sending your daughter to a jumping class. I mean, we we jumped
We
all day long.
jumped, climbed
We teach each
trees, jumped
other
fences.
agility.
Yes.
I was small, so I had to be agile
Right.
for those big kids coming at me.
Right.
So I would just find it funny that this day and age with the kids nowadays, everything is so just structured.
Yeah.
You have this game, and you got this club you belong to. That's the only time they play.
Right.
Yeah, but I never felt poor.
Yeah.
No, my mother, she was on ADC, Aid for Dependent Children. She was
Hmm.
on welfare, but mom used the system not to live on, but to help her.
Yeah.
So she went. They had a program to teach you a trade, a skill, and she went to
Hmm.
secretarial school,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she got her office skills, and she started working in the city. She got off welfare because she got a job working in the city at the
Correct.
Department of Human Resources, and she even did neighborhood organizations, ABLA.
Mm-hmm.
ABLA ladies, Asians, ABLA,
Mm-hmm.
ABLA ladies and gents.
Yeah.
And ABLA stood for the different projects. So ABLA Homes is all the project system in Chicago.
Okay.
Robert Brooks, Lewis Courts,
Okay.
and Grace Abbott. Grace, our projects. So ABLA,
Mm-hmm.
ABLA. And it
Okay.
was called the Ladies and Gents. It was a teenage club.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother and I, we never were part of it
Okay.
because we were working. I was working.
Right.
And Vance was too young. My younger brother was just too young. So
Okay.
the picture I sent you of her, the dances and things like that and the
Right.
program. Yeah.
So
So
was she was mostly teaching them like about like etiquette courses and
true. Uh, it was this more activities. Just keep them
okay.
out of trouble.
Yeah.
Again, they would go to Grand
Okay.
Park. I don't know the teaching because I was not involved in that. So I'm not sure. I wish my
Okay.
mom was around to explain what Avila they
Right.
did. But it was a lot of activities to
Okay.
keep the teenagers, occupied.
Yeah. Because also, I
Um,
think during that time you mentioned to me, so of course, each complex was broken down, you know, the Jane Abbott, the Jane Addams, and then each of the other different
right, yeah.
projects. And it was kind of like competitiveness against um each group. You guys would play
Yeah.
games, play sports and stuff like that.
When you see the picture, our the Grace Adams homes,
Okay.
5 to 7 high rises, 15-story high rises.
Mhm.
Mine was a 1510 building. 1510 was 13th Street. That was my
Okay.
address. There was this 1520 building, the 1440 building. The 1510 and 1520, they were maybe 100 feet away from each other.
Okay.
And I never knew anyone. I didn't know anyone in that building.
All right. Vance probably did. I'm sure he did.
Advance, my brother probably did, but it was not something you went to that building,
Right.
especially later when the gangs started coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not, I mean, in that complex, I didn't know anyone in the
Okay.
next building. Even our own building had 15 stories. We were on the first floor,
Okay.
apartment 105 in the corner. And it was a two bedroom. It was 4 of us. And my mother had her bedroom, and my older sister, she was 5 years older. Older sister, she was 5 years older than me, Deborah,
Okay.
and my brother. The three of us shared one bedroom.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there was 2 beds. My brother and I slept together. My
Mm-hmm.
sister here until she moved out at 18.
Okay.
So she was a young woman,
Yes. Yes, indeed.
and she's got these 2 boys sharing a bedroom with her.
Right. No
And
privacy.
it's
None.
normal. It was you didn't think about it. It was normal. We had one bathroom, and but I never had a want, and I was hungry, and I never felt I needed anything.
Yeah.
I was missing anything because mom provided for us.
Yeah.
And that's one thing my mother taught us, taught me was to provide for the family.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew my father. He was never around. He never, again, I was, yeah, I don't know the percentage. I can tell you it was more than half the women, I'm sure, did not get any support from
Right.
the children's dads.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother didn't get the support from my dad. So she raised 3 kids by herself.
Okay.
Again, she was a father and mother, the
Yeah.
disciplinarian.
Yeah.
She taught me how to be a man
Mm-hmm.
and how to provide for the family. That's the one thing she taught me: provide for your family.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's the and when I had my 2 sons, now I know that I had my wife to help me out.
Yeah.
It's been a
Yeah.
challenge. So I can
Yes.
imagine her raising 3 kids by
By
herself,
herself. Yeah.
completely by herself.
Yeah.
So, and again, far too many women in the project had to do that.
Hmm.
You
So talk to me about the time when the system started transitioning and changing up.
Okay, in the beginning, you had the projects. It was a wonderful place to stay in the beginning.
Hmm.
It was well maintained, and I think I told you before that every summer it was a ritual. They would spell out CHA, Chicago Housing Authority, CHA in carnations, red, white, and blue carnations.
Okay.
They would do landscaping, reseed, replace the playground equipment. It was a
Yeah.
great place to live,
Yeah.
in my perspective.
Hmm.
We always had new playground equipment, new basketball hoops.
Yeah.
What changed was requirements. They lowered the requirements.
Okay.
A lot of teenage mothers now are coming in
Hmm.
with their children, so they had no control of their kids. Even the with funding for, I looked it up a little bit, because I know it's talking about the project. I
Yeah.
even researched a little bit, but the funding, the federal funding was being cut back.
Okay. Got it.
So we moved in 50. I was 4, so I was 56. I still
Okay.
remember going there and seeing the construction, the cranes and all the
Yeah.
heavy equipment, watching it build the building.
Hmm.
Yeah, in the beginning, up to I say late 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
That's when the gangs started coming in. That's when the buildings started considered running down.
Running
Uh,
down. Okay.
Even the police. I remember they had the police patrol the area, and I
Hmm.
remember the police dogs. I remember the police playing with police dogs in our slide,
Oh,
having the police
really?
dogs steps and the police dogs sliding down, and just having a good time with the dogs.
Okay.
And truthfully, I wasn't afraid of the police dogs
Hmm.
because it was so part of the community.
Yeah.
Seeing a policeman was so much part of the community.
Hmm.
It was short. Again, looking through my eyes way back, I can't remember how long they were there, but I noticed the police disappeared from
Okay.
patrolling the area, and that's when we started seeing the gangs. And again, the again patrolling in the projects. They're probably still patrolling the streets,
Right.
but being in the projects, seeing them patrol, walk around, I
Hmm.
stopped
Okay.
saying. So that's when it started getting bad.
So during that time when the police started becoming less and less in the area, did things and then the gang started, becoming more of a huge thing. Was there tension between because of the proximity of where you guys were? Because you were close to what is now the UIC medical area, but you were close to Maxwell Street, all Taylor Street, all of that. So was
Right.
there start tension between like the Little Italy and those student children coming over into the area? Was that a thing?
Again, I my perspective. Again, I'm looking at my perspective.
Okay.
I showed my wife. Okay, you have the projects from our building. We went to Thomas Jefferson grade elementary school,
Hmm.
which was on Laughlin. So you had Roosevelt, Laughlin, Crenshaw, and then Taylor Street. So it was like
Hmm.
4 blocks, and the school was right in the middle.
Okay.
So we would walk to the school. I showed a picture of my first grade class to my wife.
Hmm.
She said, "Well, I didn't know your school is integrated."
Yeah.
I said, "What are you talking about?" So I looked at the pictures. I was surprised how many those Italian kids was in my class
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because I never interacted with them. I
Really?
cannot, and to this, again, from my perspective,
Yeah.
I never talked to, I can't remember having one Italian friend. You had Taylor Street,
Wow.
which they were not, they shared the same school we were in.
Yeah.
Even in the playground, I just played with black kids. I mean, I just had black faces around me in the
Hmm.
playground. And I'm sure they had. If you talk to a someone Italian, they
Right.
probably remember just having Italian kids playing with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I never remember interacting with them,
Okay.
playing with them.
Yeah.
So, and again, from my perspective, as a person who just has this little world, I
Yeah.
didn't really, I didn't try to make friends with anyone, and no one tried to make friends with me
Yeah.
from Italian. But to answer your question, was there any? I can't remember any problems.
Okay.
It was a unwritten rule when we went over there. We can buy Italian sausage. We can go buy food there,
Right.
but you couldn't hang around and eat there.
Correct.
So I
Correct.
went there and bought my Italian sausage, the food
Mm-hmm.
to go, and left.
And left. Yes.
Right. It wasn't that we would, go to a restaurant and sit there and have an Italian meal. No,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it was just an unwritten rule. And I never remember them ever coming in our area. Obviously, they didn't come to
Okay.
our area.
Yeah.
So, but again, it it surprised me, my reaction when my wife said you were so integrated. I
You
looked at
didn't
her like
even notice it. Oh
I
wow.
didn't even realize how integrated
Yeah.
we were. Back in the late 50s, early 60s. You
Yeah.
know, in our grade school, and we had. I remember my first crush was a black in first grade. It
Yeah.
was a black young teacher, but we had black teachers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was really integrated, the black teachers and the white teachers. I
Mm-hmm.
remember a couple of wacko white teachers that, that scared me,
Yeah.
but again was integrated.
Yeah. Because I even remember I did ask my dad about it, about grandma, and he said that she was and as he gave me more information, because after our conversation, I went and started asking him a little bit more questions. And he was like, yeah, grandma, she came from a kind of elite family. So her father was like a professor or something like that. And then he said that they sent her to boarding schools to get trained, and she was
Oh,
trained teacher down in Kentucky. But when she came up to Chicago, she was unable to get a teaching
right, right,
position. So that she started doing more domestic home care, working in homes and stuff like that. So that started, of course, getting me to think about just how education for us, because he was like, she even taught grandpa how to read. She's like, because that was
oh,
one of the things her parents did not want her to marry grandpa, because he was always working. He didn't know how to read. They thought that he was lesser than. So it was very interesting, like even talking to you. And then I was like, okay, this is interesting. Let me go ask more questions.
right.
But like you said, our family just did not talk about a lot of
Right,
stuff.
and just the fact you said grandpa did not. Grandma taught grandpa to read. This is my first time hearing that.
Yeah. He said
This,
she taught grandpa how to read, and then that's when she started, working with him through that. She's like, my dad said he was always with the book. He became an
right.
avid
It
reader.
was again. He was a Jehovah's Witness,
Yes.
right? And my remember of him was he's always at his little desk with
Mm-hmm.
the Bible in front of him,
Yeah.
reading. I can
Yep.
never remember him not having a book in front of him. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I never thought that he couldn't read.
Yeah.
Looking back, that's why he raised all his kids to work.
Yeah.
Education
Yes.
was secondary.
Yes. Yep.
So you go out there and earn a living.
Mm-hmm.
Education. So that opened, have it helps me understand him better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different. It's just different now. I'm not my grandparents,
Correct.
but
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
my wife, my 75. I'm glad my door's closed. My
I'm
75-year-old
telling
wife,
Kathy. I'm telling.
but she still plays volleyball. She still
Yeah.
plays a sport. I'm still active in sports,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not our grandparents. I
Correct.
cannot remember my my grandmother, grandfather doing anything physical. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, sport wise or anything like that.
They were
Was
always
come
working.
see us play. They
Yeah.
were working.
They were always
Yeah,
working.
everyone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, cause this has been good. I enjoyed this. You learned something. I learned something. Hey, it was
Yeah,
wonderful.
right.
Yeah.
But the project was an experience, good
Hmm.
and bad,
Yeah.
and helps mold who you are, where you grew up
Yeah.
at, and grew up in the hood, as my
Yeah.
my wife is, grow a bunch of kids. I just laugh at my grandkids what they get upset about and what hurts them.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't
I
that
I
the
just look at
truth?
them, are you kidding? I said, we play the dozens. We talk about each other's mothers, fathers, and
Yes.
everything.
Yeah. And develop thick
Talk to you,
skin.
and
Develop thick
and
skin.
if you show reaction to that,
Yep.
meaning weakness, that you got
Mm-hmm.
hurt by someone talking bad about you, so that's the difference. My wife
Yeah.
says, Kevin, nothing bothers you when people talk. I say, that's what I grew
you
up
you
with.
you couldn't let it. You could
Yeah, you
not
couldn't let it
let
bother
it. And I
you.
even think about that because for us when we were growing up, and dad did send us to school in the Mount Greenwood area, and we had to integrate that. But even in his teaching, my mom and dad, one of the things that they taught us, they was like, let it roll off your back. This is
Right,
life. Let it roll off,
right,
keep it moving. And I can
right.
remember, things being said to me because Mount Greenwood is very, very Irish. So I can
Oh,
remember things being said to me, and I was like, oh, okay. It didn't change
yeah,
who I was. I was just like, okay, I can't
right,
come to
right,
your parents' house. I can't meet your family. All right, let's keep
right.
moving.
Yeah, yeah. I tell my wife, no one defines it. I define myself. I don't let other people
Exactly.
define me. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So it
But
was cool
this is great.
talking to
And, it's always
I
great talking.
always I enjoy. Don't
Yeah.
forget you got to send me that picture because I really want to see
Oh, yeah, I'll
that.
send it right after I hang up here.
Okay, where's Kathy? I got to see.